Good evening, everybody. It's the Old Wolf here. Time for another episode of the Witch and Wolf Wisdom coming at you live. Rochester, New York, February 15th, 2022. Hope everybody's doing groovy out there. Hope the world is kind to you. Coming off the tail ends of what I consider to be one of the most, if not absolutely commercialized holidays around here in the Western world, Valentine's Day.
Yay!
Yes. Was it everything you hoped for?
Yes.
How about you?
It was everything I hoped for, completely ignored. Exactly as it deserves to be. I can celebrate love every day. I don't need...
and I'm with you on that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't begrudge other people. They want, whatever works in how you express your feelings and love is cool.
Yeah, except for like a dozen roses goes from like $12 a dozen to like $50.
Ah, yes, but that's capitalism at its finest for you.
It's just like, yeah,
America.
Let's just find a holiday
America.
to make people spend money and have disappointment. Okay, because basically, if you're in a relationship, you have expectations, you're creating expectations, and then both people, most especially though I have to say it mostly falls on the men, to scramble around and somehow pander to their girlfriends who have these crazy unreasonable expectations half the time that their guys show their romantic side.
Well,
and if they don't do it just so, then they're disappointed.
I think a lot of guys look at Valentine's Day as I hope I get a blowjob day, but
I mean, you know what? If you want a blowjob, ask your girl for a blowjob.
Well, I mean,
get flowers.
We all don't live in realms where open communication works as such.
Well, it should. It should. Hello, Suzanne and Ash.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, that's the one redeeming quality to Valentine's Day is chocolate sales the day after. It's amazing just how much money you can save.
Well, you can make the same. Listen, you make the same case after the day after Easter, the day after Halloween, the day after Christmas.
So it's just, that's true. But I mean, there's no real historical basis for Valentine's Day. I mean, they do have St. Valentine and stuff like that, but that particular day happens to be the day the dude was executed. So yeah, let's have a big party celebrating love on the day that Valentine was executed. Yes.
Oh.
So yeah, let's just, maybe we should have like a public reenactment.
That's just like the candy heart of the fruitcake of Valentine's Day. I gotta I kind of feel you on that.
I mean,
you know what I mean? There are just certain things, and I fucking hate fruitcake. I'm not knocking anybody, anybody else.
Fruitcake.
But I consider fruitcake, in that kind of realm of, crimes against nature.
Is that why Monkey is standing here saying he's never had fruitcake?
Yes, he's never had fruitcake, and...
You are a very fortunate soul. You are a very fortunate soul. Fruitcake is disgusting. So are candy hearts.
Nasty.
That's unfortunate.
Suzanne's like, I told my coworkers I was going to Target to knock all the Valentine stuff over yesterday. But instead she stayed home and looked for her jewelry.
No luck on finding it, huh, Suzanne?
And hey, Monica and everybody else joining us, Angela. So yes, in kind of the old school format of something that Shiya has done for years, tonight is going to be Fireside Chat, just, bouncing around. Don't get me wrong. It can be light, it can be heavy, it can be, whatever. I do have later on that I will be premiering the final version of Supper the Children with the video. The post-COVID dance now has finally, I think, opened the door, or the universe, opened the door and said, all right, I know you've been struggling, trying to, get the vocals done on a lot of this stuff, because I refuse to go through the process of trying to sing. It just makes me neurotic.
I love when you sing, though. I know I'm emotionally compromised. I fully accept this, but I love it.
And this is the point where we ignore the witch, basically tell her to go fuck off, and change the subject. So we found a guy.
Yes,
We found somebody, a guy down, and from your neck of the woods, from down in Texas.
You tell me where in Texas.
I don't know where in Texas.
Well, you got to ask him where in Texas.
We haven't. We're not at that point in our relationship.
I mean, Texas is
it's
bigger
still,
than some countries.
Well, that is what it is. But again, guy's name's Matt Brown's great guy. We've spent the past week interacting, recording, working, and this project now is heading to where, I wanted and needed it to go. And again, still doing a track with Greg. Unfortunately, Greg has other commitments. He has a job, family,
wife, the universe, and everything.
Well, I mean, listen, he's a recording musician. Yes. He's a performing musician. And, you can't begrudge people those elements in their life. And it does, go into that little self-check about our own expectations.
Yeah.
I love Greg. Greg was best man at my wedding many, many years ago. We've been friends for many, many years. But sometimes the universe is just like, no, we don't care how much you want something. This is not how it's supposed to play out. And, when I was dancing through the COVID and stuff, I had a lot of time laying in bed to really think about those contexts and those aspects. And, sometimes we, when we accept, we just say, okay, you know what? What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Wherever, where am I, let it play, let it roll, go for the ride. Now, that doesn't mean that, for some things in our life, we want to push harder. Sometimes it isn't just that it's not meant to be, it's just we haven't put enough in, the timing isn't right. So it isn't a 100% thing. So I don't want to rubber stamping and go, that this is the only way it can be. Yeah, it's not, it just happens to be the case.
I always say if anybody ever says something, run.
Well, hey. But again, one door closes and another one opens. He's looking to expand out on the elements of being a singer and a professional musician. I'm going to promo some of his band stuff in a couple of weeks.
Kill.
Next Tuesday, there will not be a podcast, as Shiya will be doing.
Two. It's on Tuesday, and we're going to be doing the two portal readings.
So all these fucking witches that hijacked my podcast, making it go away.
Fuck yeah, we're going to be
bury it in the backyard.
Manifesting the shit out
of but listen, all joking aside, that's going to be really cool. I will definitely pop in on that. Christine, how you doing, hon? Great to see you. And Suzanne says, I have a discussion topic she talked to Shiya about last night. How do we connect with outlet spirit guides or make that connection stronger?
She's trying to mean our spirit guides. Yes.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that in a little bit. We will bridge to, when we open up for topics, we will bridge to talking about spirit guides. Absolutely. Very
good. Yeah. No, listen, it is a good one to discuss.
Absolutely.
Ask me the statement is pretty funny because somebody told me about that many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to find ways, when the boys were younger. Mm-hmm. It was a struggle sometimes to get them to eat anything outside the box. They're like, no.
What does she say? I'm doing...
After she's doing her no-spend money this week for the month, and found out she grabbed cream of chicken and mushroom for her tuna casserole.
Oh, I've done that before. It's good.
And chicken, tuna, mushroom casserole ain't bad.
No, it's actually kind of good.
Sometimes you can combine shit and just be like, woo.
You did promise to make me a tuna casserole.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
a year ago.
I rescind that offer.
Why?
Because I can't.
You said that you were going to make me tuna casserole. I like tuna casserole.
You only get tuna casserole on Valentine's Day. It's a Valentine's Day treat. So you'll have to wait till next year.
We don't celebrate Valentine's Day.
I know, that's the point. So you'll never have it.
Gee. Added taco seasoning to it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and Suzanne, you're right. It is a powerful day. And, for those of you who are into or have any connection with, numerology, it's like any other aspect of magic. It's perspective driven, but it is directly related to our belief, our
Yes.
faith, our manifestation,
Well, that's
as you
why
would say.
even like, Beltane or Easter and stuff like that, or Astara, Easter, all that sort of thing being celebrated at that time has a worldwide appeal because every religion has some kind of spring celebration. So when you're pulling the energy of the earth and the spring celebration together, I don't care what religion, path, whatever that you are, you actually have, just turn that one off, you actually have all that power of energy from everybody together manifesting, hey, spring changes hope. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. And for those of you who are watching versus listening, we do have the writing contest, and we actually have an email address, contest@ladieshiya.com.
Y'all need to get off your butts and start sending stuff in.
Now, listen, you take your time, but you do it as you feel.
Yeah, do it.
I'm actually going to just switch over and hold on this for a minute.
Yeah.
Last contest, Ash Buck won, and by the way, I know you and Ash spoke.
Oh yeah, we spoke.
We have the
custom
sweatshirt.
hoodie.
We have the custom hoodie for her, which will be going
turned
out.
So awesome.
So yeah, that was really cool. I'm looking forward to getting that out to her. So, hon, you will have that very, very soon.
Yes, I've got to take some pictures with it. I'm gonna play model with it.
And Violet and Becca and Shauna and Angela, hello everybody tonight. But again, the writer's contest is just really simple. It's a poem, a spell, a mantra, under 50 words that Shiya and I and those that I work with musically and stuff are going to convert into a song, into an actual track.
Yes, much like her Desperate Mind started out.
Much how her Desperate Mind started, and also how Time of the Phoenix started with John and myself.
Exactly.
So it's a great way, to explore the element of music. I'm going to be doing a workshop upcoming about magic and music. Music is one of the oldest forms of magic, ritual, spell, if you want.
Yeah.
It is framed within numerous cultures throughout numerous periods in history and stuff. But again,
the first instruments just banging on a log.
Well, something, even a stick and a rock will work.
That rhythm kind of feels good. Yeah. That rhythm
I'm caveman and I beat you on your head with my rock. Yeah.
Ooga booga.
Ooga booga. But yes, this is just, again, another way of, kind of getting people involved. So the grand prize, your writing made into a song, a 30-minute private reading with either myself or Shiya, and a $25 gift certificate to Mystical Moon.
Mystical Moons? What?
Mystical Moons? What's Mystical Moons, you say?
Oh,
well, Mystical Moons.
Mystical Moons.
Oh.
It looks cool. Are those
She's got some cool shit. Let me tell you.
And rocks and bracelets and skulls and
you can either check her out, you know what I mean, at facebook.com/Mystical Moons Live. She does lives. Or you can go to mysticalmoons.com. And here's the cool thing, and this is really incredible for her. All you got to do is mention Shiya. Just mention Shiya.
Yeah. Do some name dropping.
Do some name dropping, get that 25% off.
That's no small
You know what I
amount.
mean?
That's a good thing.
Listen, I mean, again, straight up, I look at a lot of this stuff, and knowing what this type of stuff costs, for overhead and just basically, that's a really good deal.
Well,
if you're into this kind of stuff, huh?
What did you get for your birthday?
I got this really, really beautiful wolf.
Yes, it's a
wolf with a sword.
Wolf with a sword. A purple fluorite wolf with a sword in its mouth. Isn't that awesome? He loves it. And that was for Mystical Moons.
Yes. So definitely, if you're looking for yourself, listen, these are great gifts for people, who enjoy this type of thing. They're beautiful elements. And they're magical.
And you're allowed to get gifts for yourself.
Yes, you're allowed to do that absolutely as well, too. Yes. Absolutely. So, yes, there is that. And thank you again. Check her out again at mysticalmoons.com.
So Becca says she's working on something about all the bullshit she's been through in the last 30 years. I'm excited about that. That's cool. You got my message and you'll send them, Dork. Okay, good, Dork, because I will chase your ass down. Pictures.
Oh, that's right. We have that. We want to finish that up.
Yes.
Dork. That's a great word. I haven't heard that one used.
No, I called her a dork. I'm like, where's my fucking
Dork.
pictures, dork?
We used to do that for kids. You're a fucking dork.
Dork.
It's like a badge of honor. Like, I can dig that.
Yeah.
It's cool to be a dork.
It is cool to be a dork.
But anyway, the contest again will be running for at least a month. We're going to let this one run through a little bit. You're welcome to do multiple, submissions. The only real limitation is, 50 words. Don't get me wrong. If you're 54, we're not going to be like, oh,
you're disqualified.
Yeah,
No.
Just keep it within reason.
No epic Iliads and Odyssey poems, please.
Not this time. But also, in the flip side, you know what I mean, again, I would just humbly suggest, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm not the type of person to say, hey, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that.
We can't talk about Fight Club.
Well, except that you can't write a song about, you can't talk about Fight Club. But you know what I mean? I also don't take, and again, let me just say this bluntly. Please don't write a poem about, the joys of having sex with chickens.
Yeah, if it belongs on Pornhub, we really don't want it.
I mean, again, feel free to express sexuality if that's what you need to do. Same instance, try not to go deep down the rabbit hole on, anything, too political. Make it the point of this, and I think maybe this is really the point of where I'm going with this.
Just make it relatable.
Make it, you can be about beavers. Thank you, Suzanne.
Just not the beaver
Keep
assholes.
it up. It can be about beaver assholes. That's okay.
Assholes? Okay.
Yeah, you can talk about beaver assholes, but, like hardcore fucking chickens in their asses is totally...
What's the difference between fucking chickens and beaver assholes?
Because beaver, it's much it's gentler. It's much more.
How is this gentler?
Because we're just gently.
Rabbit beaver?
Listen, I'm sure there isn't a guy somewhere fisting beavers. No,
that's not gentle.
They're gently milking the artificial vanilla. You know what I mean? They have little spas set up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's a whole process in this.
I think we need to maybe address this weird.
But no, listen again.
Of yours.
Don't get me wrong. Talk about what you want. It can be a mantra. It can be, again, a spell.
Or what Becca's doing.
As Becca said, she's like 30 years of bullshit.
Yes.
Listen, when I wrote Demons was just about, like, all the nightmare elements as a young child.
Well, they haven't heard the words demons yet.
Yeah, well, they probably never will. But that's...
You can have mad sing.
There you go. Angela's like, no trans-species sex.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
But you were saying
I couldn't find the words. Angela found them for me. We should put that in the disclaimer.
Ash
is like, I've milked volcano glands. He can milk the vanilla out of a beaver asshole.
I'm worried.
That's the kind of night it's going to be. I love it.
I love you, Ash, but I'm worried. What happens when we do Fireside Chat?
Yeah, no, that's good.
You gotta
Listen, express yourself. It can be an emotion. It can be a thought. It can be in a concept. It can be any number of things, okay? It is, in its purest form, expression.
Yeah.
And little things like this I have found over the years, and it's one of the things that I teach, and I know it's also one of the things that you teach. It makes us stronger and better at not only communication, but understanding certain elements of, be it emotions or situational elements, traumas, whatever the case may be, and it's not going to apply to everybody. And that is, again, the flip side of the coin. Not everybody's going to understand it. Not everybody's going to agree with it. Not everybody's going to like it. That's okay.
Yeah.
If it touches one person, you've done something beautiful.
Truth.
You shared an element. And again, me personally as a musician, of course, I will freely admit that I'm biased in this, but I believe that music is one of the most powerful tools that we have in expressing elements, concepts. It is a common ground that we can share, whereas, we may not agree on all these other fucking things, but damn, that's a funky fucking beat. And if there's some beaver assholes involved in the, listen, I'm not saying, and I'm not condoning or telling people to go out there and fuck with beavers. Okay? I'm going to promise you it isn't going to play out the way that you think. Okay, wild beavers are much, much different than your Upper West Side beavers. Your Upper West Side beavers, like I said, that's an industry. You know what I mean? Those beavers, you know what I mean? They've gone through the process. You know, their assholes are, let's call it for what it is. They're conditioned for that type of thing. Yeah. Wild beavers, they'll be like, fuck off, get off my ass. What do you think? Do I look like that? Never assume a beaver's, I guess, inclination.
Okay.
That beaver, you know, he may be about the artificial vanilla, but you know,
right now.
You know what I mean? He may be one of those QAnon beavers. You know what I mean? Who knows?
God.
You never know.
Me.
So don't assume.
Scaring me.
And especially when you're out in the wild, don't fuck with those beavers. It's not going to end the way that you. I mean, again, it's just not going to end the way that you think.
No, it will not. Absolutely not. So, I did something really cool with the chat. Nobody gets to see it yet.
Oh, you want to go there? Well, I mean, we were talking about the contest. Listen,
the contest. All right.
Bunch of prizes, first, second, and third place. Submit to contest at LadyShiya.com.
Yay!
Just that simple. And hey, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah, Rachel's like, it'll end with beaver fever. Hell yes.
Beaver.
But this is the beautiful thing. You know, you can take something, and this all started to give those of you who don't know the background end of it. It was a live originally. It was one of your lives, I believe, right?
No, I think the asshole thing started on yours.
It was either one of Shiya's lives or one of the first podcasts. Artificial vanilla came up. Yeah, and Suzanne so graciously volunteered the knowledge to the rest of us that, hey, do you guys know where artificial vanilla actually came from? Beaver asshole.
Beaver asshole.
And it was just one of those moments in time that, you know, it was like a new star forming. There was a new solar system. There were planets now forming around it, and life is developing. And it's now turned into a whole ecosystem of just comedy routines. And, you know, listen, humor, again, just like music, is an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
These are practical magic, as I like to call it, because you can, you know, it's not like your Harry Potter, you know, fucking flashing green lights and Death Eaters flying through the fucking sky. Music you can actually hear, laughter you can feel. These are, in my mind, you know, they are everyday aspects.
Yeah.
That you can find in so many elements. You know what I mean? It's like dirt. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? Now, granted, if you live in the city in a concrete jungle, yeah, you might have to go out and look for a little bit. Comedy is different for everybody, just like musical tastes are different for everybody. And Tim and Mike and everybody, welcome.
Welcome, you guys. Hey,
yes, Mike. The kids are out and playing. We're being very naughty.
Yeah, absolutely. We're having
very, very naughty.
Suzanne's like, takes a bow. Yeah, you.
So yes.
Hey, Dahlia.
That is most definitely, you know, and giving credit where credit's due, that is definitely a Suzanne thing, but yes. she is near and dear to us, so we have it like that. And you know, these are things, again, as stupid as it may seem. And again, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere.
Oh, somebody's always going to be offended by something.
Right there, that's, you know, right now sending an email to PETA that the wolf is advocating abuse against the beaver population, and he must be canceled now.
Cancel culture.
So, as I did in a disclaimer, I'm not suggesting you should go fuck with the beavers, but truth is truth.
The beavers. Don't fuck the beavers. Don't.
Oh shit! Look at that. Leah and Derek are going to be in New York in June. All right, so we definitely going to.
Yeah. Where in New York? New York's actually.
We'll figure that out. That's a lot closer than when they are now. Yeah, we'll definitely have to make it a point hunt to get together.
Fuck yeah, that'll be awesome. We take pictures. I'll take you. You're gonna be in June. Well, if you get up here to Rochester, I'll take you to some of my favorite spots.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
We'll go and commune in the woods.
But that is just one of the many elements. Now, as mentioned before with the Fireside chat, Suzanne also brought up about our spirit guides. So we're going to address that, and then Becca pulled. I see some stuff here from Becca about a scam, and we'll hit that one in a little bit. I haven't forgotten you, Becca.
I'm scrolling too quick.
I'm scrolling.
Scroll, quit that.
Here, you know what? I'll just read Becca's.
Okay.
She had somebody trying to scam her today for about $1,200. Her bank called and let her know it was a scam, and I reached out for help. I was asking for help from this person in New York City, and they sent a counterfeit check from somebody in Idaho. Or not sure, or Illinois, but can't remember. But my bank doesn't use anyway, and it's frozen. They even tried to get my social security driver's license. Yeah, that is a common, unfortunate scam.
That is the cashier's check thing too.
It's the old Popeye thing, you know. It's wimpy. For any of you who don't know this analogy, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a cheeseburger today.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, that anytime they send you a check to deposit to your bank, and then they want you to send the money right away.
Or the Western Union one. Yeah, they're all bullshit. Yeah.
They're like, here, you deposit this, and then you pay me back from this. And then the check ends up bouncing or being false or whatever, and then you're out whatever money you just sent out.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if somebody gives you a check, you wait until it motherfucking completely clears before anything goes anywhere.
Now, Tim, we don't do a
Welcome,
whole... We will be doing some traveling. I don't know if we will be getting into Utah. We actually, we know people in Utah. We have some friends there.
Beautiful country.
We will be in Texas at some point. So depending upon how that plays out, we might... I don't want to make promises, but there's a chance for sure.
But anytime you want a private session online, we got that.
Private, video sessions or counseling or whatever the case may be. And again,
services right above.
Right, there we go. You go to LadyShiya.com. She has a whole thing set up there where you can look at what dates that she has or that I have available, basically.
Right.
Again, it's just really dependent upon what you're looking to do.
You click the Book Now button on the Facebook page, and it'll show you our available hours.
Yes. So, yeah, feel free, if you're looking for something particular. And listen, if you're not sure, just reach out and say, hey, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. Having conversations is free. Don't get me wrong. We can't spend 2 hours with you debating the Odyssey, but you know what I mean? We don't ever want to, and I think you'll agree with me, we try and maintain a very organic connection, be it from the business element or like the podcast that we do for free.
It's not all about the money. We want to have the connection, but at the same time, we need to keep the lights on. So, we work to find that balance between connection, and that's why we have nights like podcasts where we can talk and chat.
Or how we do our music. Like, again...
The music's all free.
Most of the music scene out there... Well, that, Tim, if you're looking to talk to your dad that has passed, that is a mediumship.
That's a mediumship. It's
and that's a
Monday on the live or a private
thing, right? And that's specifically through Shiya. That is her end of the spectrum. Yep. I'm more the grizzled old shaman who, you know what I mean? I fight demons and kind of like a bard sometimes. I'll, toss a coin to me, I'll write you a song.
And you surf the universe.
And I surf.
You surf the universe. And just surf. You astral.
Sabrina, we've seen that as well, too. Yeah. Listen,
it happens.
People will impersonate Lady Shiya. They'll impersonate this person, God, Nigerian princes.
Yep.
Supposedly JFK is alive and hiding with the Rolling Stone somewhere. I don't know.
Hey, I met him last week. He was fine.
You know what I mean? Go figure.
He was with Elvis.
Definitely feel free to reach out. But I wanted to get back again to
I want you to talk about this album now.
Well, the album I'll talk about later.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit later. First off, we're going to talk about Suzanne's thing because, again, a lot of different variations, a lot of different interpretations, but our spirit guides, our connections, our inner voices, again, regardless of whatever label you want to slap on it, is like our internal radar in many ways. It guides us, it teaches us, it will protect us. The trick is, and as she mentioned, how do we connect better? How do we hear it better? Well, like most things, the first thing that I have found, and this is, basic, 101 teaching element, is you need to understand what it is that you're dealing with. Now, some of that is obviously open to interpretation, and some of that, though, is expectational. So,
Yeah.
what are you looking for? Every element of everything that happens that we do is usually predicated upon a need, a desire, a goal.
Well,
You know what I mean? My house is on fire. Let me get the fire extinguisher.
Yes. My first thing, though, on connecting with your spirit guides, to really be able to hear and communicate with your spirit guides, your first spirit guide is going to be your higher self. Well, the only way you're going to actually be able to connect with your higher self is if you have a level of self-acceptance and self-understanding. So the very first thing on getting in touch with and communicating better with your spirit guides is to communicate better with yourself. I always say to my fledgling witches, witch myself. That is the number one rule. Know you. That self-introspection, that self-understanding, so on and so forth, is going to be the very first thing. Doesn't mean you have to be 100% comfortable with yourself, because you know what? We're always very self-critical people in general, especially empaths.
Oh, absolutely.
To actually be able to sit with and listen to yourself and understand your own mind is going to be the key to being able to connect with your spirit guides, your higher self, so on and so forth.
It is definitely a big part of it, and that's a great analogy. Some of it also stems from simple little elements. Many times when people
You're disturbed.
Yeah. I don't know where the hell that just went. We'll have to address that one separately.
Right? Jesus.
Yeah, that's good. We'll talk about it.
I'm just looking at the screen and making a face of what
I'm trying to make a serious point here.
he's making a serious point. He turns around and he looks at what I'm making faces at, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, no, there's a great moment of time. Sometimes it's not that we can't. The analogy is that they're there, but we're distracted.
Yes.
Or we're, again, so focused, so polarized, one-dimensionally, again, that we miss the actual elements. Now, sometimes that's reflective, and we'll call it simply for what it is, that we're not getting the answers that we want. And not unlike a child, you know what I mean, we tend to react.
What I want.
Why am I not getting a fucking answer?
Right.
Sometimes we are getting the answer, it's just we're not in a position.
Sometimes the answer is no, or wait, or stuff
Right,
you don't want
but
to
listen,
hear.
sometimes the answer is that there's not going to be an answer right now.
Right, which is the wait answer.
Now, that's where it gets confusing, where, okay, well, how do you determine? Like you said, the first thing you have to do is you really have to get to that basic foundational level of the self-awareness,
Yes.
okay? And again, it doesn't matter what label you want to put on it. Some people refer to them as, spirit guides, guardian angels, whatever, again, wording you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
It is reflective of our connection with elements outside the box. And that's just a simple analogy that I use. Now, you can obviously practice certain basic elements. Meditation, I always find, is an absolute simple and effective go-to.
Yeah.
Clear your mind, clear your spirit, focus your energies into, as you call it, that manifestation of hearing, being aware. Now, sometimes, again, and this is, an element that I take from a lot of the Native American aspects. The messages will come in simple elements. It will be a bird flying by.
A cardinal.
It will be a particular sound or a smell that carries over the wind. There are 1,000,001 different analogies as to how certain things will translate. Sometimes it's the internal dialogue. You will literally hear the quote-unquote voice in your head. Yes, you're not fucking crazy.
Yay,
Okay.
Diana's here.
but it literally will be not unlike the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be visual. Many times it will translate through dreams. But
there's a whole bunch of different clairs that I talk about all the clairs. Shut up. Talk about all the clairs. There's clairsentience, clairaudience, like being able to smell things, so on and so forth. I mean, there's all those different clairvoyances, the clairs, you know. So some people hear, some people feel, some people just know, you know. But how do you get there? I think is what Suzanne's asking. And one of the biggest things, and I think the wolf hit on it, is mindfulness, like being fully present in the moment. If you're not fully present in the moment, you're not going to see, feel, hear signs from the universe. If you're too busy worrying about what's going to happen or dwelling on your past, how are you going to hear the messages that you need in the now?
Well, I think, again, some of it comes into the unfortunate reality of how things get stereotyped, things get labeled.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, for good or bad reasons, automatically assume that they're going to be in these mystical type of, you know, burning bush moments, or, you know, the voice from the heavens, I am the God, the only God, I am here to bring you guidance. No, it doesn't.
I am the Metatron. I had to go.
Yes, yes. Shout out to Alan Rickman in the hereafter.
The Metatron.
Can't wait to see you on the other side, brother. Miss you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't translate that way.
No.
For some people it does, but it is not the common element.
No.
Again, it will play out in aspects of things in our everyday life. It'll be the simple messages. Many times, and I have found this personally, and I've experienced this numerous times, the message will come through other people.
Yes, sometimes.
We are messengers as well, too. You know what I mean? We are voices for ideas, love, philosophy, science. So we are part of that whole tapestry. So even though we may not affect this, that, I may not, you know, affect Michelle per se, but it may carry over with Suzanne, and then Suzanne touches somebody else, and then eventually that gets back to Michelle. I mean, again, it isn't two-dimensional in that it is so structured. It is organic. It changes, it shifts, it flows based on the person and the situation. One of the things that I always recommend and I push strongly for in these elements, we all have certain elements that resonate with us, that we click with. Maybe it's a particular type of music. Maybe it's a particular color or a smell. Find something that's elemental, for lack of a better way to put it, something that's baseline to kind of create as a focal point. Initially, at least, again, when you're working on aspects of meditation or trying to, you know, get in touch with that aspect of your energy of the universe. Yeah. Because again, as you talk about, and not to be redundant, half the battle is in manifestation.
Yes.
You know, if you want to talk to somebody on the phone, you actually have to pick up the fucking phone and dial them. Maybe it's only one button you have to push, but you still have to put effort. You have to make the cognitive choice to connect.
Yes, that is very true. And some people are like, you know, hey, I try to meditate and I can't hear in the meditation. I can't hear the messages from my guides. One of the biggest faux pas, I guess you could call it, or the biggest mistakes that I see people make in meditation is that they're working their asses off so hard to clear their mind instead of just fully being present. If you sit there and just sit and focus on your breath and let your mind just wander wherever the fuck it wants to go, somewhere in the middle of all of that, realization strikes, your messages from your guides show up. You could be in the middle of thinking about what the fuck you're going to make for dinner, and then all of a sudden, here comes this massive download for the universe on how to make your dreams come true, you know?
Hey, listen, sometimes it'll be in the most absolute, like, you know, you'll be in Walmart.
Yep. Well,
Shopping for something, and all of a sudden, bang, you'll be taking a shit, and all of a sudden that
it pops up.
That universal epiphany, and all of a sudden the message, you know, again. And Diana's absolutely right.
Has an excellent
a lot
point.
of people don't realize their gifts right away. And Suzanne follows up. She says, so this leads me to my next question. How do people who know their spirit guides are. She hears people say things about some of their guides. It's confusing. Look, because she doesn't hear, she feels.
It doesn't fucking matter who they are. That's one of the things. The spirit guides are typically, we personify them, we give them names.
Right, we put faces on them.
They are exactly that. They are spirit. It's the way that the universe communicates with us. And sometimes it's voices, and sometimes, like Suzanne says, she doesn't hear, she just feels. I feel, so I open my mouth and shit comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, did I just say that? Guess my guides were really prompting me to go there.
It is just a simple variation in what is translation. That's how it translates for you. It is not a right or wrong element. And unfortunately, again, because we are who we are, we tend to polarize things. This is my God, and he is the only God. And if you do not accept my God, I shall come to your city, rape your children, kill your women, and I shall stick my flag in your ass. Yeah. And then my God will be your God.
That unfortunately is a big page on history.
Listen, and that's just one glaring example. But it does. Certain things have stereotypical elements. You say
it's one
witch. Just the word witch.
Yeah, that has a million.
Is a fucking loaded word.
But it is one of the deeper, quote unquote, deeper mysteries. That, all gods are one God is all gods.
Right.
The thing is that the divine, the universe, spirit is this big, incomprehensible everything, and so we've got to boil it down into
when it was convenient,
bite-sized nuggets.
Right, when it was convenient, Joan of Arc was the hand of God.
Yeah.
Until they decide to burn her as a heretic.
Yes.
So go fucking figure. You know what I mean? And again, translation, being what it is unique to every person.
Yes.
So for some people, because of their background, because of the things, their experiences, like a friend of ours, John, his translates more within a framework, I guess you could say, within a Christian dogmatic element.
Well, he was raised in a Christian dogmatic element, so he relates to angelic things.
Right, so that's how it translates for him.
Yeah.
Myself, I tend to, like Becca, mine tend to be more nature-oriented. There'll be animals, plants, and to some degrees, literally within the dreams. I'll get, the HBO special stand-up of what's coming down the pike.
Michelle, don't go down the proselytizing track.
Yes. Let's open that dogmatic can of worms. Stephanie, welcome. The format, this is what we call
Fireside Chat.
So yes, it is an absolute open forum, obviously within reason. You can talk about beaver assholes, but you can't talk about fucking chickens.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the spectrum that we've established for tonight.
No
fucking children, fucking chickens and children is a no. Beaver asshole for artificial vanilla purposes.
It's fine.
Acceptable.
Yep. Yeah, they will be putting crosses on your lawn. Yes. You know what? Even though we are in an age where it's more accepting of spiritual and pagan paths, you still say the word witch or pagan or something like that, and they immediately go to Satanism.
Well, listen, Michelle, I give you props and stuff, and I understand the feelings and stuff. But again, here is again, we're going to have the conversation. Let's have the honest conversation. As much as I would love to do that as well, too, we still live in a world that is so poisoned right now. And I think poisoned is the good word for it.
Whited supplements.
With elements of religious dogma and separation of things that, unfortunately, when you open that type of door, it's basically, unfortunately now, an invitation for the crazies to come into your life.
Yeah.
And that is the trade-off. And it's a shitty one. Don't get me wrong. It should not have to be that way. But you and I had discussed and debated some of those elements, and we decided, even within the framework of what we do, we were going to speak honestly, as best as we could, speak our truth.
Speak our truth.
But also in the same element, certain rabbit holes we were not going to go down because there's no point to it. And I think, that is reflective, and you see this within history and culture. Witchcraft didn't disappear, it went off the radar. And it went off the radar so it could fucking survive.
Yeah.
Human nature tends to be to kill or destroy that which it doesn't understand.
It's a keep it or kill it mentality. We either want to keep it and tame it and make it bend to our will, or we want to kill it. And that's, you look at conquering civilizations, keep it or kill it. They either want to keep it and integrate it, adopt and adapt, or they want to absolutely squash it if it doesn't fit in their world, Made
that kitty's hair fell out because of the
not
witchcraft.
Good, Suzanne.
Oh, that's great.
We scroll up. I think Stephanie said she wanted recommendations for developing self-discipline and practicing for other areas of your life. Now, this goes beyond just witchcraft. This goes beyond paganism, spirituality. This goes beyond into self-care, which it's going to be all about mindfulness, being fully present in the moment. And actually, as much as we sit there and gripe about Christians and stuff like that sometimes too, I am a Bible quoting psychic, and when there's some wisdom in the Bible, I'll pull it. And there's this one phrase in the Bible that talks about taking every thought captive, that I think is absolutely beautiful. And I think it's a very good mindfulness technique, to where if you think of something, be aware of your own thought processes, pull the thought out of your brain, and decide whether this is a thought worth keeping or throwing out or modifying. So it's like, if you think, I am worthless, and that's your thought, and you're aware that the thought in your brain comes up, I am worthless. You take that out and you look at it and say, okay, I am worthless is a negative thought train for myself. Let me readdress this thought. I am not worthless. I have done this. I've done that. This is who I am, and I provide value. Okay. Now you have another thought that comes up and says, hey, I did a good job on this. Okay, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? That's a good thought. I did a good job on something I worked hard for. I should adopt that and be proud of it without making an ego thing. So I'm going to keep that thought, and I'm going to use that as a positive reinforcement. So being constantly aware of your thought, that is hard with ADHD.
I was just going to say,
ADHD, and I can still do
Bethany
it.
makes a great point. There are elements of things that make it more difficult, and there it is. Like all things, unfortunately, the simplest answer usually is the true answer. It is a time element. Now, what I recommend and what I usually start with, find one or two little things that obviously speak to you, that you're comfortable with, and even more importantly, that make you feel good, and use them as focal points. And when I say that, they are just like compass points. So that way, when you feel what I like to call the drift, when you find yourself sliding off in a particular thing, you use that as a bring you back to square one to refocus yourself.
And you call it the reset.
The reset. Now, granted, it's a very simple, basic thing, but over time, what it does is it reinforces how you not only react, but in an element that we talk about a lot, conditioning. We can condition ourselves in many different ways, be it from a physical aspect, we work out and we condition ourselves to get bigger muscles and stuff like that. From a mental aspect, we read books, we learn things to expand and grow upon that. Focus as well as discipline requires, you have to identify the element, obviously with the ADHD, you recognize one of the hurdles in your way. So instead of, and again, it'll take a little time, but I would suggest not so much looking at it as a hurdle. This is just a different game that you're playing.
It's a growth opportunity.
Right. Again, we talked about this earlier, and I think this applies. Too much of the things around us, especially within words, have negative context. The ADHD doesn't necessarily have to be a negative context. Now, again,
I believe that ADHD is a superpower.
Yes, I think in many ways it's just one of those elements that's been labeled and then reinforced within culture, that it makes it, because also some of what I think you're dealing with, and I see this all the time, People are overreacting to what they believe are the expectations. I have to act a particular way. I have to think a particular way. I have to talk a particular way. I have to react a particular way because that's what somebody said somewhere, or that's because what somebody, again, a whole host of reasons, but they're not real. They're illusions.
I can tell you part of the key to my success as an entrepreneur in multiple businesses over the years has been my ADHD, learning how to work with my ADHD. I haven't been medicated on ADHD, thank the God, since I was in high school and was forced to. But once I started working and learning my own biorhythms and learning myself and how I worked best, then that became a superpower for me. And that's part of what keeps me successful.
Like anything, it is how we choose not only to perceive it, but what we do with it from there. Again, when children are born, we don't know how to walk, and we learn and we develop it, and then we learn how to run, and we learn how to dance and ride bikes and surf and moonwalk, and
there are different things that will appeal to each person.
Right.
And
there are variations within the spectrum. So just like anything else, you have a framework, within that aspect of discipline and focus.
Yep. Becca brought up a point with the bird, and that she kept seeing birds and stuff like that. And again, whatever speaks to you, you speak with the animals, and they give you signs.
Yep.
So
and that's how it translates for me. In going back to the other thing,
everybody's going to be somewhat unique. Everybody's going.
Sabrina, thank you for that, and we're going to use Sabrina's much appreciated plug.
Segue. There you go.
Segue. Music is a great tool. I use it. It's why I'm a musician. It's why I compose.
Yep.
And with that, I am going to premiere out here the second of the completed tracks for the album that I am producing.
What's the name of it?
Music from the Garden.
I'm excited.
This track is Supper of the Children. I played this out here a couple of months ago, the instrumental version. Matt Brown is now officially doing the bulk of the vocals on the project. Really great guy. Like I said, from Shiya's neck of the woods from down in Texas. But we are working this remotely, as, needed the case. I'm in upstate New York. He's in fucking Texas. But that's the beauty of technology. So, this is Supper of the Children. This is the final version with vocals. Okay. I hope everybody enjoys it. So we're going to roll this through, and then we'll come back. We can talk about that or anything else that everybody wants to talk about.
Yes, more Fireside Chat after this awesome song. I'm so thrilled about it.
Are you really?
I am.
So we'll just kill that background music.
There you go.
And we're going to switch over. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Supper of the Children. Enjoy.
Something disturbs the air in my room. I turn around to see your face. Just let me go, let me fall. I've gotta get away, I've gotta run from you. Whisper of the wind in the trees. It calls me friend, but I'm still afraid. It's singing, follow me. Oh, child, follow me. But the storms I lay will take me home. I've gotta get away. I've gotta run from you.
So yeah, that was Supper of the Children with Matt Brown on vocals. Yours truly, guitar and everything else mixed and mastered up in here. Hopefully, again, very soon, I will be releasing many of the other elements that I've been working on. Some of you know I've done a lot of classical composing for Shiya, for some of the Reiki and the more meditative elements, which was just something, again, that was, you know, really spoke to both of us in that framework, and definitely outside the box of stuff that I've written and performed before. Okay. And I'm going to throw a little bit of instrumental stuff in the background for now.
Excellent.
But yes, this aspect of this end of the project is now coming around the corner. Matt has, you know, very graciously, you know, jumped completely in with me on it, which again, you know, for myself as a musician, half the battle is finding people that actually understand, that can, you know, that can relate, that have that ability to connect. I'm at a loss of words because I speak through my guitar. So a lot of this gobbledygookly type of shit is just, you know, okay, well, I'm used to communicating certain elements through my music. Okay.
I'm not sure why it's not playing.
Okay. Okay. So you're
I'm trying to
you're looking. Oh, that's what you're trying to do. Okay. Well, let me get.
Just put Journey back on because instrumentals isn't working for some darn reason. It's not playing. Now it's playing. There
we
it goes.
go.
Okay.
Yeah. Technological difficulties. Yes, yes. So, yeah, some of the hassle has been, you know, converting some of these elements, you know, doing the podcast, we do the lives.
Yep.
We do a whole bunch of different things. I have basically created, you know, a Dexter's Laboratory sound studio
I think it works great.
in the corner of the bedroom.
Yes.
And, you know, for me, it is a big part of my magic. You know, I love teaching. I love, you know, the different elements of when and how I can interact with people. But my music is where I'm stronger in that aspect. Now, some of it also for me, just like everybody else, is conditioning. I've been doing it since I was 11 years old. And as that progressed over the years, it became a go-to element, not only in, you know, survival. I performed, you know, I was literally, you know, the fucking guy from The Witcher. I'm going around the bars, toss me a fucking coin.
That's a coin.
You know what I mean? Give me a fucking ale. Just
so basically,
give me a fucking, you know, a corner to flop in at the end of the night and stuff. And that's just how it was back in the day.
What's his name? Yesker?
Oh, I don't remember.
So.
And within that aspect, you know what I mean? It also became a form of self-protection. You know, certain deeper emotions became framed through it. Aspects of pain and loss. The darker element became part of that and became an outlet, became a tool for me. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't always the healthiest tool, but it evolved, it developed, and now it is evolved and become something else. Yeah. Welcome, Kayla. Someone is dangerously obsessed with you, you say. You have a dove and a butterfly tattooed. You see orange and black butterflies every day.
Well, butterflies, I love butterflies as an element of transformation and self-development. But if somebody's dangerously obsessed with you, I will highly encourage you to document that and maybe talk to your local authorities about getting a
If you have something tangible, and I only say this, and I don't say this to be dismissive. This is not to say that for whatever reasons that they may or may not be valid per se, but unfortunately, and again, I believe in honest conversations. People do not need smoke blown up their ass. There are places you can go to get that if you really want that up your ass.
No,
again,
absolutely.
all joking aside.
Pornhub,
but unfortunately,
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, Pornhub, pick or choose. But unfortunately, most of the quote-unquote structured world takes these types of elements, especially if they even remotely dip into the mystical or outside the box. You will get dismissed, you will get stereotyped, or worse, you will get ridiculed because of those elements. And again, here's the thing. Just like in the same analogy, if you have a medical condition, yes, you can consult the guides and tarot readers such as myself and Shiya, any number of people, but that is not a replacement for medical element.
Well,
a doctor is a doctor versus, it is.
You and I are both of the same thing, is that we believe in metaphysics, but we also believe in science.
Now, again, on the flip side, if you have somebody and you have legitimate context, like, somebody stalking outside your house or sending you fucked up emails, that's tangible elements that you can use in a context within the law, regardless if you live in Australia, New Zealand, or wherever you are.
To get a restraining order.
Now, here's the other side of the thing. You feel like people put spells on you.
Now, I will say half the time that people are like, oh, do I have a curse on me or something? I would say more than half the time. I'd say about 90% of the time, it's not. Okay, most of the time it's our perception that gives it the energy, that gives it the power that it seems like it's coming over and casting a pall on our life. Now, there is that 10% odd time where somebody's actually put spells or a curse on you, but that shit's easy as fuck to break because it breaks natural law.
And it is so rare, because here's the thing. Just like every other aspect of human lore.
And no, you don't have to know their name. You can just uncross yourself.
Be it, whatever dogmatic element, be it religious, magical, whatever you want to call it. There is always that percentage that has been twisted, contaminated, manipulated, weaponized by those of ill intent. And these become reinforced over time, especially when you talk about aspects about spellcraft. And elements of magic, okay? All right? Curses really don't work the way that they are stereotyped. And that misperception has been reinforced because the real power of it is, and again, I refer to it as weaponized empathy. It is the ability to manipulate how people feel, what they perceive. It is illusion.
See, that's where you and I differ. I believe in real curses.
There are, but it's rare. No, that's what I'm. Again, let me get to.
Okay.
The real framework of that context is incredibly rare, because it is not only volatile, but it is usually the type of thing that reverberates in such fucked up ways that it just, by its very nature, you're just not going to see it out there. Because if it really did see the light of day, but listen, they're burning books because they're afraid they're going to make their kids gay. If that shit were ever to take a real tangible context, you could bet your fucking ass they would wipe it out faster than you could say Salem witch trials.
So the best thing that I can tell, and yes, I definitely believe in law of attraction, Kayla, 100%. That's a natural scientific law, as above, so below. But the best thing I can recommend for you, Kayla, come on the live tomorrow night, get a reading, find out if you actually do have something on you or not from somebody else, or if it's just simply a perspective shift that you need to do for yourself, and cleansing your own energy and aura and stuff like that you can do for yourself, or if there's really something that's there. Like I said, actually, I will go far enough to say about 99% of the time, it's you. Every other time,
well, no, there is the caveat, because listen, some people they'll plant elements out there,
conditioning elements,
okay, to make us look to the left so they can take advantage of us from the right. So you have to really, there are so many variables that come into play. This is the devil's in the details moment, because we're all unique. Our experiences are unique. The elements, the people, all of it is unique. Now we have common elements. We feel pain, we feel love, lust, attraction, fear.
Yeah.
But the variables always have that unique aspect. So you need to look at it from the elements that are going on around you. And as Shiya very aptly said, there are so many little things that we tend to miss, especially if we're focused. If we're distracted, it's even worse.
Yeah.
But focus sometimes will lead to that same aspect, because we're scaring so hard over here, we don't see what the hell's going on over here on the right. And that's when we can get caught off guard. Now, again, it's not reflective of motivation. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a less person. As I always like to joke, hey, welcome to the human race. This is part of the dynamic. But here's the beautiful thing that goes with it. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we adapt. So you really do want to have it. It's a paradox.
Well, if you have a lot of fear and anxiety in your life, and there's somebody else who's manipulating that fear and anxiety, that in itself is its own type of negative spell work.
Yeah.
That, part of it is stuff that you can work on to protect yourself, and sometimes it does require an actual spell casting of, cutting cords, or breaking a curse, or doing an uncrossing, or something like that. But more times than not, learning yourself, learning how to mitigate with that fear and anxiety, and not allow other people to manipulate that fear and anxiety, manipulate, as you say, the traumas that you've been through, things of that nature, can actually create an aura of protection around you to where people can't use that weaponized empathy.
And we were talking about this earlier. Some of it is conditioning. Listen, I get it. A lot of fear and anxiety in your life. You've gone through a lot of trauma. It is a common element that a lot of us share to different degrees. And that's not to say that your pain is less than or less important. But again, if we're going to have the honest conversation, the real truth of it is, okay, so what do we do to change the context? What do we do to move forward? What do we do to help ourselves, to protect ourselves? Now, the first thing, and I think this is part of why we even do this, you have to engage. You strengthen numbers. So regardless if it's hanging out on the podcast or going on the live, which regardless if you want to, get a private reading, because it isn't just about the money. Anybody that knows us
we'll have conversations
and we interact, and we will talk about things regardless. Many times it is not even a framework about money or any of that stuff. It's just in a moment, somebody's going through an element, a conversation will start just like what we're doing now. Now, granted, the podcast is specifically set up for that.
Talking about your spirit guides and hearing messages from the universe. Your message from the universe could be here. Strength in numbers, coming together, having a conversation, finding your own personal power, claiming power over your life again.
But, part of this process of life, obviously, we want to feel good. We want to laugh. We want to enjoy. So, how do we find practical ways through a lot of the shit, like the fear and the anxiety and the pain? I always go back to, some of the baseline elements. A lot of these things are out of our control. They are conditioned elements. They are byproducts of the world we live in. We live in an age where empathy has been weaponized to such a degree. It is in every framework of our culture. Marketing is just weaponized empathy. You need to buy this. You need to look like that. You need to spend and do, and all the things. And that's just one slice of the dynamic. That's not even getting into the obvious social elements, depending upon where you are. Maybe, you're over here in this particular religious spectrum, or maybe you're over here in this particular political spectrum, or maybe you're over here in this particular sexual thing. Maybe you're like Suzanne. All you really want to do is go hang out in the woods and lick beaver asshole all day. But it's not acceptable to the rest of the world. So they're going to get on you and they're going to try and make you feel bad and tell you that you're kind of fucked up. And then an old wolf's going to come by and going to bite their fucking throats out and be like, get the fuck out of my forest. Sometimes it plays out that way.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
But that is the beauty of this about you can take. This is, communication, again, is one of our most important tools. We could share stories. It used to be back in the day, and I love how Shiya has, if any of you that are actually watching this, in the chat, you can see the little flames. That's the whole concept of Fireside chat. It used to be that we would sit around a fire and we would tell stories and we would joke and we would laugh and we'd be like, yeah, Bob's got a small dick and, whatever. Beaver asshole, you know what I mean? Yes, Sarah's like, all she heard when she joined was, in the woods, licking a beaver's asshole.
Yeah, Sarah, you came in on a good point.
Next on National Geographic.
This is where artificial vanilla flavoring. If anybody wants to know the beaver asshole analogy,
this is going to be a never-ending saga.
Artificial vanilla flavoring come from, and you will be like, I will never have artificial vanilla flavoring ever again in my motherfucking life. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and here's a good debatable point. If it's from a beaver's asshole, why is it artificial vanilla? I mean, I don't know what could be anything purer than the secretions of a beaver's asshole. There's no chemical I mean, again, maybe it is what the real deal is they start with the beaver asshole and then obviously it gets processed into whatever. Because how do we, listen, here would, like, again, my brain goes here. The beaver lives in the woods. Mm-hmm. Vanilla by default is a bean. Maybe there's some other natural plant derivative in the ecosystem that beavers eat that creates the same chemical compound that is in the vanilla bean. So by default, the beaver asshole is actually all natural. I'm just saying. I'm not positive. I'm not a scientist to that degree. But maybe, I mean, I don't know. Research would have to be done. Again, I'm sure PETA would get pissed off as soon as anybody would even throw out there that, hey, we want to take 2,000 beavers, make them comfortable, and probe their anuses.
Yeah, let's not and say we did.
Yeah, listen, they're canceling people for some ridiculous shit. I am sure that would. But I say we do it.
No.
Fuck it.
Let's not and say we did. Actually, let's not even say we did. Let's just not.
Yeah, I'm with Ash. We had that conversation. Who originally, was somebody just so desperate, so fucked up? Imagine the state. I mean, again, how did these things come into context? Now, I suppose in theory, you could make a case. Yes, Angela, it is an incredibly strange conversation. You could make the case that, again, hunters, trappers would hunt beaver for their furs. And then by default, especially, within, I guess, some aspect of the time period, they would gut the animals and they would eat them. So maybe along the way, somehow that whole process led.
Okay, so now we've gone completely down the beaver asshole rabbit hole.
Logically, they eat beaver meat. They don't want to waste anything.
Yeah.
That's very true in a lot of cultures. Hey, listen.
So, new topic.
Don't fucking kid yourselves. Anybody that's had a hot dog or anybody that's ever had, sausage of any kind, you love Spam.
I do. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. I know. It's so
Spam is pig asshole.
No, it is not.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's
all right.
Not.
See, Sabrina's like, so yeah, that's how a fireside chat sometimes goes sideways. And listen, for what it's worth, try and look at, I always suggest, even if something doesn't initially seem funny, it's about context. It's about perspective.
We're just going on into the whole
nobody is really suggesting that
cable.
Any of this. Yeah, Michelle hits a great point.
There is
a coffee bean that is highly prized
Because
that people pay a shitload of money to, no pun intended, that is literally shit from a particular animal.
I'm looking it up.
So, you know, go fucking figure it.
It's the Kopi Luwak. It is a coffee that consists of partially digested coffee cherries, which have been eaten and defecated by the Asian palm civet. It's also called civet coffee. They're fermented as they pass through the intestines. And you know what? Somebody picked up shit and decided, let's decant this and eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like monkey coffee. It's a monkey.
Yeah. No. It's
I
that's a tough. I love coffee, and I am a bit of a coffee
you know,
connoisseur, but I'm not having any of that.
Yeah, no. I'm not either. But here's a little free takeaway type of thing. I decided a bit ago, at some point deep into the teenage parenting years, as I'd like to call it, that certain things are the never-ending rabbit holes. Once you go down it, you know, you'll just end up fucking lost. The best thing that we can do many times is to bring humor to it, to put a different spin on it, to take away, especially, you know, in the framework of a negative context. Yes, and I feel bad.
Well, I would love
my intent was not to make Angela sick, and I do apologize.
You made Sabrina sick, you made Angela sick.
Yeah, I see that. Listen.
How about that for a topic?
Well, no, that's actually going to be one of the workshops.
All right, exactly my point.
So what are you trying to do?
So what I'm trying to do
What,
is
you trying to get rid of me? You trying to project yourself? What are you trying to project onto the podcast?
I'm trying to
the witch is trying to project onto the podcast.
The witch is trying to project off of.
And I'm with Michelle.
And shit.
Fucking dingleberries. Dingleberries to it all. Dingleberries for everyone.
No. So, okay, we're gonna move off.
That's great. But Ash, just made a great point though. You can take it and you can flip it. And she took and flip it and say, hey, she wants it for her garden.
Yes. Let's talk about gardening. Yes, gardening sounds like a good topic. Gardening sounds awesome. What are you planting in your gardens this year?
Chanel's like, no dingleberries for you. Hey, listen, as a parent, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of them. So.
Yep. No.
It just, you know, again, why let it be a negative context? I make it into, you know.
Humor.
I make it into a show tune.
Yeah, humor is shitting, sir.
Very, very nice. William is growing green beans. That's great.
Cool.
Listen, again, and here is a great little segue. And this is something that's important to me, and the Goblin Queen has so graciously brought the message from the universe. For anybody who's familiar with this song from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, teach your children things that actually matter, okay? That doesn't mean they have to, just because you teach them how to grow vegetables, doesn't mean that they have to grow up and be a farmer.
But at least they know how.
Just like if you teach them how to fish, doesn't mean that they have to go be a fucking fisherman. You don't even have to eat them if you're not even into eating fish. You just, you know, catch and release. Okay, if that's too cruel for you, but there are elements of things, and I say this as a parent and as a person. Knowledge is power, okay? So teach your children everything that you can. Let them explore, encourage their imagination, you know what I mean? But there's also the practical element. And again, we can agree to disagree on certain, you know, elements of things.
Such as I do like caviar and escargots, fish eggs and snails.
What the fuck does it have to do with teaching children?
I don't know. You said everything's different. Somebody mentioned fish eggs and snails.
Wow. Chris came in and just, you know, she did it. So I'm talking about teach your children. I make this iconic rock and roll song reference.
Yes.
And your fucking witch ass just polarizes out on fish eggs and snails.
Because he said everybody's different.
This is my life. This is my world. People wonder why I have to go into these deep comedy, fucked up sarcasm, dark magic routines, because I live with a fucking witch, man.
Talking about teaching your children. So
I love her. Don't get me wrong. All joking aside, this is all comedy, by the way.
How to make your teenage son do their chores.
Well, I mean, again, if we're going to have an honest conversation, yeah, Sarah's 4-year-old curses on a 10th grade level. Yeah, it's tough. you know,
That's
there are
awesome.
certain elements of things. Again, what I found worked for me as a parent, not only did I try and spin a lot of it comedically, but I made it a point to understand their levels of things. I got down on their levels. I played the video games with them. I listened to them. And in that process, I found, just like we all have, the elements of where certain triggers are. They like video games. And if they want a fucking video game, well, guess what? You're going to do your fucking chores or there's no fucking video games. It worked out real simple. At first you'll get the look, you'll get some attitude. And you know, the problems to some degrees is that, especially as high-functioning empaths, we are very uncomfortable with that dynamic. It is a paradox because we don't want to see our children upset. We don't want to see them angry, and they do not understand, as we do as adults, unfortunately, that there are certain things that, you know, we have to, as the parents, draw the lines. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. It's not a simple just, well, hey, flip the switch and everything. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of the hit and miss. But I believe in my heart, and again, as a parent, having experienced it firsthand, it's a process of time, and time we can't really control. So if you're going to do it, as they say, do it right. Don't do it half-assed. Jump in. If nothing else, you will have, and I know this for myself, I don't ever have to worry about that nagging shit in the back of my head. Well, should I have done this or should no? Because I know I made definitive, conscious, and honest efforts. I do what I can where I can. I don't make excuses for it, but I also don't avoid it. Now, granted, it's not a perfect thing, especially when you're dealing with children. We're human. So, you know, it's a constant juggling act of trying to maintain our own identities, work on whatever elements that we have to deal with in just a simple act of surviving day to day, and then juggling whatever dynamics may come, you know. And again, I had one son, and then by default, kind of, you know, the Godfather son, as I like to call the Bagak. And you know, I love him, you know, like a son, but
he's your bonus son.
The way that my house was when my son was younger, we made it a point to have that be the focal point. So I didn't just, in many ways, raise my son. I raised half the fucking neighborhood in the process.
I didn't even have any kids, and I
So,
raised half the neighborhood.
I've seen enough of the dynamics. I've done counseling over the years. I've done, you know, therapy elements, working with kids at different levels. I've seen enough over the years to know that, you know, that simple analogy, just as we're all unique and individuals, they are too. So you have to be able to get down to their level. Yeah. You know what I mean? And sometimes that means getting dirty. Sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's fucking weird. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. And sometimes we have to say, yeah, no, we're not jumping off the fucking bridge. Okay? That's our job as parents, I believe. And I don't make excuses, or, you know, I don't pretend that it isn't what it is to some degrees. Context being what it is. There's a difference between, you know, a 16-year-old child and a 3-year-old child. I'm sorry, but with a 3-year-old child, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Okay, because they have not developed. They don't have the same processing and knowledge and understanding and all the things that go along with it. So again, you have to apply certain things based on the details.
Yeah. And technically, a child's brain doesn't stop developing until they're 24 years old.
Listen, I don't believe that our brains stop developing at all.
Well,
I think
we
we're
have
just limited in our understanding
We
of
have,
it,
we
in
have
my humble opinion.
neuroplasticity, which is something that's been proven by science, which actually goes along with what a lot of us know about the laws of attraction and rewiring our own brains, which is, you know, what we focus on, we start manifesting in our life. You sit there and focus on the negative all the time, you're going to develop a negative mindset.
Yep, and there are a lot of us that use aspects and parts of our brain that most people also don't use, because there's a lot of elements within the brain for most people. And I'm not pointing any fingers, and I'm not criticizing or saying you might be named Joe Rogan or anything like that. Just, you know, hypothetically,
just hypothetically, it could be.
Where you know, the stupid side of your brain is the dominant side, and it just makes you do stupid shit and say stupid fucking things.
Yeah. Chris says her husband used to do survival this weekends, took a pack of salt and beef jerky, had to hunt and fish and harvest everything else. That's awesome, and that creates some great bonding time there too.
And Sarah makes a really good point too. There's also a fine line being your kid's friend and their parent. It's about the balance, and that's beautifully said. It is. It is not always easy. Sometimes we have to proverbially be the fucking bad guy from their eyes, because they don't get it. You know what I mean? You know, and again, it's, you know, it's about analogy context.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle says her 3-year-old granddaughter loves to help do chores. She's always praised and awarded. I believe in the reward system as well, too. I think it's a better teaching tool, especially for children. I think it creates a healthier mindset.
Yeah, in my opinion, if you're going to do action consequence, it needs to be action consequence good, action consequence bad. You know, the balance between the two. That's what life is about. You do good things, you get good rewards. You do bad things, you get, you know, negative shit.
Well, you know, but again, we have to be careful. And I think, again, as adults, we understand this, that what we perceive as the adult is not going to translate to a child a lot of times. And inevitably, what happens, and unfortunately what happens, is many times we cause trauma. Our motive is pure. We had the best intentions, but perception being what it is. And this is, again, one of the key tools that I teach, and I spend a lot of time emphasizing, that perspective does not have anything to do with our motivation, with our intent. It is simply perception. It is what a person sees, what they experience, what they feel, and it's unique to each of us individually. So it is a paradox to some degrees, but that's where, you know, again, having that communication aspect is so critical in being able to not let it go into, and again, I'll just use the context analogy, you know, for myself, you know, my father's heavy-handed elements, regardless if he was drunk or not, was traumatizing.
Yeah.
And did not, I believe, in any aspect, do any good in retrospect. And I've seen enough of it in my life. I'm sorry. This is not to say that, hey, you know, I'm telling anybody how to raise their children, but in my personal and professional opinion, okay, that heavy-handed element does no good. It causes trauma.
Oh, when you create an environment of fear,
right?
That is never.
Yeah,
I've never seen how
it's debilitating as a child grows and becomes older. It leads to so many other problems, because that conditioning now, like a cancer, spreads into other elements of psyche and personality and behavioral. It's a fucking shit show, in my opinion.
I agree. You can't create an environment of fear, and anytime you do, you see these people who have become adults who have to break the conditioning elements of the fear that was created by traumatization parenting. You know, super bullshit,
Brother Johnny. Yep.
We were talking about how fucked up that is earlier.
Listen,
To
you
tell
know,
a kid they're going to hell if they do certain things.
Again, if we're going to have the honest conversation, if you look at it, and if you look at it historically and all the different frameworks of context, regardless of whatever religion it is, and this is not to just point the finger at one religion, this is universal for all religions, it is a control mechanism.
Yes.
It is a specifically targeted,
Yes.
weaponized element.
And to where Machiavelli wrote a damn book
Well, listen,
about it.
it's sheep herding.
Yep.
It is keeping the flock in line within the particular parameters.
Yep.
It is what it is. Now, granted, some of them are good. Okay, like I'll quote the Bible here. Thou shalt not kill. It's a good one to have. We shouldn't just go out and
Technically, it
kill.
says thou shalt not murder. They misinterpret that.
But again,
Go back
the
to
analogy being what it is.
Yes.
Okay. The same thing with don't fuck your neighbor's wife. Okay, listen.
What? Yeah.
If you want to fuck her, she should get a divorce first and make it clean. It's not fair to anybody. It's bullshit. Now, granted, that's my opinion. There's a little bit of comedy twisted in there, but there are basic parameters with a society. And I'll use a more serious, darker one. As far as I'm concerned, in my reality, anywhere near me, thou shalt not fuck children. If you try and fuck children on my watch, I'm going to fuck you up.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry. I won't make excuses for that. I will own that.
Amen.
Our children need to be protected. There is no context analogy where that is acceptable as far as I'm concerned. Now, again, that's the extreme end of the spectrum. Now, that's not to say that, again, if somebody breaks into your house and is raping your child, that you can't take your shotgun and blow them away and murder them. That's where the don't kill part, as far as I'm concerned,
Well, that
goes out the
I don't
fucking
consider
window.
that murder. I consider that protection.
Yeah,
Murder
it's semantics.
Yeah, it's a semantical thing, but that's why it's important to understand.
Now, this is heavy, deep shit,
Yeah.
and I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying anything more than, at least to the best that I can within an honest framework, that these things are what they are. They're control mechanisms. They are boundaries that we have to create within a society to some degrees, again, regardless whatever the religious framework, so that way it isn't just absolute fucking chaos.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, again, there are shifting degrees.
We have to have a societal structure.
But there's a there's a difference between that and just, every time, you know what I mean, your child leaves the toilet seat up, that you scream and berate them. It doesn't even have to be physical. Let me tell you, sometimes the emotional elements are much, much, much more devastating. It's not to dismiss the physical elements, but it's all devastating in some form, especially in that perspective-driven element, because that becomes, and if you think about it, if you really step outside of yourself, and if you think about it in that kind of context that I'm describing, it's fucking nightmarish.
And see, here's Angela brings up a good point. Some people have been saying that those who take the vaccination won't ascend to a higher dimension. I mean, again, we are all on the fear tactics, Let's ignore science, let's ignore life, let's ignore reality, and let's just go into a society of fear. What's going to keep you from ascending is living in constant fear.
I get it that people have their reasons, but why can't it just simply be, listen, I'm just not comfortable with it, I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Why does it have to go into, like, as Angela says, you want to, it's insanity.
Or if you listen to rock and roll music, you're going to hell. That was one of the two things. I don't know if we want to get into the other thing we discussed earlier, but
don't eat meat on Friday. Don't touch. Oh, listen, the don't touch yourself thing.
Yeah, I mean that's a natural thing for kids.
The only reason I started touching myself is because they told me not to. I would have never probably really just. I mean, I'm sure I would have.
Eventually,
I'm being sarcastic,
right?
But the real framework was.
Did you go blind?
No, I didn't go blind.
Okay, you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I see you and your cheekiness.
You think I'm pretty? I think you're blind.
Oh, see, that's just your shitty self-esteem.
Yeah,
I happen to love you.
I love you,
and I think you're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Anyway,
yeah,
but again, really,
fear.
It was because of that overplayed element. Was like, well, what happens if I touch myself? Nothing happened.
You know? Maybe.
Nothing happened. I ate meat on Friday. Guess what? Nothing happened.
So, oh my gosh, are you sure?
You know? And as I got older and I started actually learning and researching and connecting the dots, it's just like so much of this is just absolute bullshit.
Look,
It was somebody's interpretation of, you know.
We talked about weaponized empathy earlier, and we talked about how if you turn around and use empathy, or those of us empaths, we can justify anything. So when you have empaths that are using weaponized empathy, they can justify any particular position, be it taking a vaccine, not taking a vaccine, touching yourself, not touching yourself, eating meat on Fridays, eating meat at all. I mean, you can turn around and literally fear somebody, and if you get enough people to believe that fear delusion, then it blows up, and then next thing you know, there's where the superstition is born, and there's a whole new religion or whatever, so on and so forth.
But it's also to some degrees, and to use the analogy, you know, all joking aside, with the touching yourself thing, it was now an overlay of now a moral interpretation.
Yes.
Let us stifle elements of sexuality, because we really don't want to deal with that, because we don't really want you to be sexual except in the context of making babies.
Controlling the problem.
And yeah, I wear glasses too. I'm not sure where the segue goes.
Yeah, that's something that happens when you get in your 40s. Your eyes.
But, you know, I can tell you that, you know, in every scientific study that I have read, psychiatry or otherwise, that most sexual crimes, assaults, especially in the framework when you're looking at it from men who commit it, have a lot of these underlying
sexual repression elements
from childhood. Now, again, that I'm not saying that the Catholic Church creates rapists, but I am saying that there are elements of conditioning through a variety of different aspects within our world, our culture, our societies and stuff, that damage children, and then that damage carries over into adulthood in much, much more spectacularly fucked up, horrible ways.
Well, we were watching, what was that show we were watching about the beginning of the BAU and how the behavioral unit in the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going through and they're interviewing these multiple serial murderers and understanding some of the dysfunctions, and every last one of them had layers of dysfunction from fears, childhood fears, abusiveness, that sort of thing, that was just never dealt with, and it's all based on fear, and then they act out in different ways because they don't know how to handle it.
Well, I mean, again, you know, some cases, again, it is direct conditioning. You know, there is always the case that you know that there are, unfortunately, as the proverbial saying goes, there are bad seeds. It happens, but I don't believe, again, I see that as the exception, not the rule.
That's an extreme version of it, yes, but at the same point, that does create certain traumas, neuroses, anxieties throughout people that, you know, they name it, never become serial murderers, please not, but at the same point, they're constantly living their life with looking for the next shoe, the wrong shoe to drop, you know, that, oh, nothing good can happen to me in my life because every time something good happens, something bad happens, that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, Angela,
conditioning.
I have kind of a two-way thing on that. You know, I understand and I agree with you, especially with children, that religion should not be something that is indoctrinated onto children.
No.
It is a bad context.
Yes.
If you're an adult, okay, a grown adult, you know, who's experienced some life, if you choose a life of celibacy, be it, you know, you want to become a Tibetan monk or if you want to become a Franciscan nun, if that's a personal choice, you know, I believe in that freedom of choice, that free will thing, and I try not to begrudge anybody in their belief system.
And there is,
but it is, and I agree with you, Angela. It's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Because our nature is not, you know, celibacy is you know, again a practice. You know what I mean? It is our natural hormonal context for most of us is to fuck.
Yes.
That's how we're
In
programmed.
a purely spiritual, non-religious sense, a kind of a self-denial kind of thing does sometimes help people reach higher spiritual goals within themselves. And if that's what they so choose to do, whether it be a denial of
Well, it's like
eating
fasting.
meat, whether it
Yeah.
be fasting, celibacy, plant-based only, raw diets, that sort of thing, that kind of self-control can help you know yourself better and kind of get a higher level of spirituality. Now, should I feel like it's required? No. But if that's what you choose to do, great. But to try to beat kids into that's what you have to do in life?
Hey, Judith, good to see you, hon. Hope you're doing well over there. Yes, I listen, again, the dynamics, you're dead on.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's obviously, the variable aspects, a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. And definitely stuff to, keep in mind, back to the original context, teach your children.
Yes.
Again.
And teach your children to think rationally. You did a great job.
Love
with
them, be
Monkey on that.
supportive. And again, that's not to begrudge anybody's beliefs or philosophies, but keep in mind, if you truly want them to really believe, you have to guide them, not force them.
Yeah.
Don't reinforce it with the negative aspects. And again, my own personal feelings aside, you know what I mean? I think, again, if you want to preserve a relationship with your child for the long term, my experience, what I've seen says, let your children decide for themselves.
Now, you want to talk about, some people talk about, well, you can't have a moral, teach moral lessons and stuff without this kind of fear-based religion thing.
Bullshit.
I look at you and the monkey, okay? You have raised an extremely moral, conscientious, well-meaning boy, and he's grown into a man without forcing any particular religion down his throat. And man, can that kid think.
Listen, morality and critical thinking,
Yeah.
compassion, empathy, these are not things that were exclusive to Christians or exclusive to the Greeks or exclusive to the Mayans or the Celts. They are universal within us as humans.
Yeah.
They are part of our internal hardwire code, regardless, again, of
You don't
where
need some
and when in
great
time it plays
Guy
out.
in the sky looking down
Right.
on you and like, oh, you listen to rock music. You're going to hell.
Most, if not all of these, all center around a simple context of, responsibility for our own actions. And to what degree are we looking at the collateral, the outside effect,
Yeah.
versus what we get or don't get? You know what I mean? It's always that play. I want what I want, but what about you?
I like it how it just kind of boils down to the golden rule. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. Treat other people with kindness and care and respect and love until
Yeah, no, listen, in a perfect world, you know what I mean, with, rainbow unicorns and, you know what I
And it
mean,
doesn't-
free internet for everybody,
There's
but
a
yeah,
reason we don't have utopia.
well,
They actually had a TV show for a little while where they tried to do a utopian kind of like combine thingy like that. And I tell you what, it took like all of 2 weeks to totally degrade into chaos and bullshit. I mean, they were like, oh, let's have our coming together utopia thing. And then within 2 weeks, it's like, oh, we're fighting over food. Fuck you.
Judith, that is great. When my son, I did the very same thing. I explained to him a little bit about my background, how I saw certain elements of things, but I encouraged him to explore. I encouraged him to talk to people, regardless if they were a rabbi or a priest or an atheist.
Sounds like the beginning of a joke.
Well, if they all walk into a bar with a penguin, it probably is, but
Okay.
that's neither here nor there. So, real quick, one of the other things that I wanted to do, because it was requested, and a lot of people who watch the podcast enjoy these little elements. I promoted stuff for the children, the new version earlier. I am going to go back to the instrumental version to close out tonight of Blue Jazz. And Blue Jazz will be updated. It is one of the tracks that Matt is going he and I were joking around about it. I'm like, listen, just fucking channel Frank Sinatra. That's all you gotta know about this. You don't have to be Sinatra,
Just channel.
but you just channel him. You
Channel
find
energy.
You find that inner jazzy kind of,
Blue
you know,
eyes, Rat Pack.
yeah,
Yeah.
sitting in a dark corner, whiskey in hand, smoke-filled room. There's a guy on the piano. And don't do the Billy Joel. I could read the Billy Joel thing. I could see you're immediately going into that fucking Piano Man thing. I'm like, fuck you. This is not a Billy Joel
It
fucking...
literally started playing in my head, and you
I know.
Get out of my head.
It's not like I'm psychic or anything.
Yeah.
This is why she and I work so well together. For any of you who follow our particular dynamic. So like, who the fuck are these two and how the fuck... Yeah, listen, you don't need to understand it.
The universe.
We're like the alternate reality Deadpool. We're just like our fucked up little pieces just
If anybody
form.
heard half of our conversations.
It forms the perfect puzzle.
It does.
Balls in hole,
right.
man. Balls in hole all the way.
All these squares make a circle.
All these squares indeed do make a circle. Brother Johnny's like, that was good, made me cough. He just started telling people who are big on the health and you want to go there. They tend to leave me alone after that. Yeah, my son uses that same technique. Listen,
All the
my
best people
son had a period
get accused.
before he graduated high school, and him and his friends would hang out down on the boardwalk on the Jersey Shore when there was still a boardwalk down there. That, you know, when the street preachers would try and engage them,
Oh, God.
you know, most of the time the kids would just dip. They would just, you know, be like, hey, fuck off, Satan. Will would engage them. And Will would try and play the fuck you mind game type of thing and would try and go deep on the intellectual. He'd pull out facts and data and all kinds, and he knew enough that many times he could spin them
He is a smart monkey.
that they didn't even understand their own dogmatic elements enough to survive a conversation with a 15-year-old kid.
He's told me stories about how he had left them sputtering and then just started yelling about hell because that's all they could come up with
Well,
at
yeah.
that point.
And as Brother John says, yeah, hell's always the go-to. You're murdering fucking hell. It's like the old guy. Get off my fucking lawn, kid.
Walter.
Listen, I have a problem with anything that is just steeped in despair and hellfire and, this just, inflexible kind of good and evil except on Fridays.
Or
and,
the you go completely.
everybody else is wrong. We have the high ground. Hey, let's go kill some brown people. By the way, I'm not so good at managing money. Just can I have your money? I'm all powerful. I'm omnipotent. I'm all loving.
But God says I need air conditioning
But
for
I
my
just,
dogs.
I just can't handle
House.
money. So I need your money
Yes.
and your love and your belief. But if you don't, you're going to hell. It's fucked up. I'm
But
sorry.
and money. Yes.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, and then of course the other ones of like, well, we're going to go completely away from the health thing and go for the feel good, but please don't money.
Angela's like, those who are awaiting the rapture in for a big surprise. Yeah, I think we're all in for some big surprises coming down the pike. I think some of the veils are going to be really coming down because the unfortunate reality, and a lot of there are people within some of the deeper intellectual communities have talked about this for a long time, that humanity as a species in general are like, just drunken children, that we're just not ready to handle certain conceptual elements. As fucked up as they are, if you remove them, we've seen how chaotic it is even with the shit that we have in place. You know what I mean? Again, could you imagine the flip side? It's like a comic book. Imagine if mutants are real and then everybody starts waking up tomorrow with fucking powers. Shit's gonna go sideways really fast.
I think that.
All right, it's not gonna be like a Disney Marvel movie.
No.
Okay.
People start waking up with powers. They're going to start.
Thanos is going to fuck us and laugh as he pisses on the bones of what was once our civilization.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that that's true, go talk to the bones of anybody from Rome
Shannon
or
had
from
a
Greece.
Scientology priest chasing her down Cincinnati every day. Oh my God! I think I heard this story.
Well, listen, I mean, again,
What is he shouting? Sell your soul for 10,000 years?
It is the eternal paradox, you know. Or as Jim would say, people are strange.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. Some things, you know, again, I don't need to, nor do I want to understand the rationale of some of these elements. You know, there is a saying, it is dancing in the mouth of madness. Once you open that Pandora's box, you know, there's no closing it. You don't get to unlearn certain elements of things. So, I personally, again, I want to understand things to a certain degree, but I don't need to go so far down the rabbit hole as to understand it to that degree. Yeah, Judith is like played this. I was waiting for somebody. Usually I'm the first one that plays the Scientology card.
Yeah, you know.
Listen, Scientology is one of them, and the Mormons. I'm sorry.
Wait a second. Let me get my magic glasses and underwear.
The fucking Mormons, I have to throw under the bus because their whole fucking shtick was started by, a fucking child molester that ran off into the fucking woods and basically created his own bullshit interpretation about Jesus and, having slaves and, stuff that is just so completely outside of, listen, even if you don't agree with the basic canon of Christianity, his shit was just so far outside the fucking box that it just only kind of funked that this actually end up becoming magical underpants, man. It's just like, I'm sorry.
I don't know, but Jonathan is apparently Magneto.
Yeah, well, I'm down with that. I really am. I'm waiting for, me and the boys, and we've included you on this. We're waiting for the fucking zombie apocalypse. Yep. We're waiting for the alien invasion. Bring it on. Because I don't think that there's personally any way that we're going to able to bring our species together.
Judith brings up an excellent point. She says, I read a Scientology book in my 20s. It opened my mind a bit to something different, but I'm glad I didn't get brainwashed. What all of these religion elements, in my opinion, do is they take a smidgen of truth and then on that build their entire little realm and world on that to justify it.
It's weaponized empathy. They're spinning a story. It's the same reason why we role play Lord of the Rings. Okay. Yes. Because it's a imaginary world that's created with visions and stories and beauty and themes and elements and all these things that we naturally as empathic creatures relate to.
Yes.
So that's all it is. It's a story that's spun that specifically pushes on certain buttons.
Yep.
And it leads you because listen, anybody, think about it. How many times have you encountered people that will justify any ridiculous amount of stupidity of insanity and will actually have a blueprint? They'll have I did this and I did this and this justifies that. And they believe it.
Even some areas of spirituality that just, opening up and like we heard about, if you do this, you're not going to ascend, to a higher level of consciousness, or whatever. Even spirituality to some ways is getting some weaponized empathy areas to it that we have to do what we can to avoid. If somebody has to scare you into a fucking way of thinking, then it's time to question.
It is the lowest and easiest common denominator if you look at us.
Fear tactics.
Yeah, Chris, the Mormons tonight, they've completely whitewashed and
let's rewrite history.
They took a deep dive on that. Listen again,
I'm still wearing my magic underwear.
I don't begrudge people's
my golden glasses
beliefs, but if you can't have an honest conversation about it, it isn't real as far as I'm concerned. And that's just me. I still wish you a pleasant day. I don't want to, hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're saying that vegans will ascend to a higher dimension.
Again,
that's fucking
the
bullshit.
Anti-meat eating thing. I think that's a carryover from someone who's Catholic.
You can make any number of cases and any number of frameworks, and it all comes. Just wait till you're eating Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
And I'll leave you on that. Listen, thank you
Soylent
again,
Green.
everybody. It has been a pleasure. Again, there will be no podcast next week, but Shiya will be doing
I'll
a
be
special
live. 222 Portal Day. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on
Yes.
YouTube and Facebook Live.
We will be portaling in and ushering in change. Positive.
Ooh.
No fear to be had here. We are all about the good stuff.
And don't forget. Don't remember. Jesus
forget.
Christ.
Oh yeah, don't forget.
I took the Lord's name in vain. I'm going to hell. Anyway, don't forget about the contest.
Yes. Right.
Throw your thoughts out there. It can be a simple little, kind of, a chant type of thing. It doesn't have to rhyme. Listen, again, the framework, and anybody, again, that has looked at any context of literature or poetry or music, there are so many variations on it that there is no right or wrong. It is an expression. So I encourage everybody, it's a great meditative piece. Talk about how you feel. Talk about an experience, a memory. Talk about, anything. As Becca said, she's got 30 years of shit that she's going to pile into that fucking thing.
Or even just like a mantra, like the goddess chant that everybody pretty much knows. That one doesn't rhyme, but it's a beautiful chant that's been turned into hundreds of different songs over the years.
Right.
Because,
This is the real power of magic, where you create your own mantras, you create your manifestations, and then you can, infuse them, as they say.
So if you got a mantra, share it with us too. Send it in. Multiple submissions are welcome.
So with that, again, we're going to close out with Blue Jazz for your enjoyment, the instrumental version. Again, I will be back, obviously, March 1st. Is this a leap year?
I don't think so.
It'll be either February 29th or March 1st. I'll be back for the podcast. Again, thank you for your love and support. I wish everybody the best. Have a great night and a great week. And
March 1st.
remember, beaver assholes. It's a thing.
There you go.